So I previously made a video where I go into detail about type 2 spinal motion and how lateral flexion and rotation of the spine and reaching in the same direction. This video, I'm going to go into detail about type 1 spinal motion and how lateral flexion and rotation of the spine, but reaching in opposite directions. Now, just for clarification, type 2 spinal motion occurs in the upper thoracic segments, particularly between T1 and T5. Type 1 spinal motion occurs in the middle thoracic region through the lower thoracic region, particularly between T6 and T12. Now, it's important to understand type 1 and type 2 spinal motion because they have significant implications on our overall functionality and stability. Thinking specifically about these vertebral segments, T1 through T12, as above, so below as above. In other words, what happens above these segments and what happens below these segments are equally as important in this conversation, particularly as it relates to the lumbar spine and also the pelvis, which I refer to often as the lumbopelvic hip complex. Now, because the human body is a kinetic chain that transmits ground reaction forces through our body, it's our kinetic chain's job to be able to dissipate these forces that travel throughout our body. Now, if there is restriction within any of these vertebral segments and a person has more of a kyphotic posture, that restriction in mobility within the transverse and frontal planes and sagittal plane, for that matter, if you're stuck in flexion, will actually cause additional stress on the low back by the poor transmission of forces. Now, the two most critical points of this demonstration are the isometric hold and the forced breathing. The isometric hold will actually upregulate or depolarize or turn on these stabilizer nerve bundles. The forced breathing is going to also turn on or depolarize or upregulate the accessory breathing muscles, which are primarily stability-based muscles as well. Some of these muscles are like the transverse thoracis, which is a deep stabilizer, the internal and external intercostals, and also the internal and external oblique. Doing both of these simultaneously will create a more robust activation, which is a sound preparation strategy before high intensity exercise or sports. From a split stance position, create length in your posture by opening your collarbones and then create length in your cervical spine. I like to imagine that there's a string pulling me up through the crown of my head. As I maintain that posture, you want to start to laterally flex and rotate the spine. Bring your hand into the wall, reach in opposite directions. As you forcefully inhale, you're going to push into the wall and reach, and continually forcefully exhale. So force in, force out, and then release. So to highlight, I'm pushing into the wall is pushing back, I'm reaching in opposite directions, I'm forcefully inhaling, forcefully exhaling until there's no more air left. Then I repolarize, I turn the muscles off. So we depolarize, we turn the muscles on, repolarize, turn the muscles off. So again, create that length, laterally flex and rotate, reach, breathe in, push and exhale. And then release. Now, these techniques improve posture, reduce pain, and enhance athletic performance by increasing mobility between the T6 and T12 thoracic vertebral segments. This has direct implications on performance in rotational sports such as throwing, pitching, golf, and other sports and activities just like these. So to highlight, we really talked about the importance of mobility between the T6 and T12 vertebrae because they really aid in transverse and frontal plane motion in the thoracic spine, important for proper force transmission through the kinetic chain. But we also highlighted isometric holds and forced breathing and how this coupled together helps to create a more robust activation drill, which will aid in stability and also mobility. I encourage you to give these techniques a try in your own program before, during, or even after a workout or any high intensity activity, doing this beforehand. Please like, comment, and subscribe, or even share if you found this video informational and beneficial. And this will give me the idea of how I can further post more videos just like this to help everyone out there. Thanks so much.